early Saxon kingdoms. That was in England in the 7th and 8th century. That was before William the Conqueror came with the conquest, the Norman conquest. And there England was not so much connected, and the smaller regions inside of the seven kingdoms, the heptarchies, were ruled by smaller local lords. Now there was Northumbria, and then Mercia, and then East Anglia and Essex, Kent and Sussex, and Cornwall. And then, of course, the other regions, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. And there were many towns uprising, new villages were founded, and agriculture was everywhere possible. The south was fertile, and the southern regions with Kent and Wessex, these were also regions profiting from the Gulf Stream bringing warm water and so on. Now, and Kent and Wessex, and also then Northumbria, were the first one who were Christianized. There was Saint Augustine. He came in 597 to Kent, in Canterbury. And when there was King Aethelfrith of Northumbria, he was encouraging learning then also, together with also there was another person, Bede, a scholar monk, and encouraging learning. And then there was King Redwald of East Anglia, and he was buried then in Viking manner, in a longship with treasures underneath a mound of earth, and that was found in 1939. And there was then King Offa of Mercia, the other region, and he built a dike towards Wales to keep the Welsh people out. And he made then a trading pact with the Emperor Charlemagne of France, the region, to encourage the trading between England and the continent. And then there were Viking invasions to the east side of England, and Wessex became and Wessex with its King Alfred became defendant against them. And King Alfred then became then the main monarch of England because he was basically doing that so good and mainly. And that is according to the history of kings and queens of England and Scotland, written by Edmund Swinglehurst on the pages 12 and 13. Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn history, today the early Saxon kings, and after we've done that we're going to do stretching, and if you participate in the stretching, then it's better your risk. Now, we read it twice, and we want to make now a presentation. The title of the early Saxon kingdoms. We want to say there's the heptarchy, and these are Northumbria, Mercia, and then East Anglia, and then Kent and Essex, Wessex and Cornwall, and then of course Wales, Ireland and Scotland. I think I said it as well here. Essex, East Anglia and Essex, then Kent and Sussex. Kent, Sussex, Wessex. So Essex is also. Okay, East Anglia and Essex. These are the heptarchy, these seven kingdoms, heptarchy. And then was the next said, they weren't so much connected then. Before the arrival of Normans and their efforts to unite England, there were poor communications, and the populace was divided into regional groups ruled over by a local lord. I think they mean it wasn't so connected. So I'm going to say they are not so connected, and it were smaller regions inside of these kingdoms ruled by local lord. Then the seven heptarchies all had agriculture and new towns and villages areas. Kent and Wessex were the most favored of the warm Gulf Stream and also lying in the English Channel. And then it was when Kent and Wessex, we're going to say here, St. Augustine settles in Canterbury in 597 and begins the conversion of the Kingdom of Kent to Christianity. So St. Augustine 597, and then Kent and also Wessex, and also Northumbria, the first one to be Christianized. Kent, Wessex, Northumbria, there's been also Kent, Essex, East Anglia, and Sussex. Kent and Sussex, Wessex, Essex. And then Aethelfrith of Northumbria was one of the first to adopt the new religion. Yes, and so Kent and Wessex, Northumbria, Aethelfrith were the king, adopting the religion, and also there Northumbria with Aethelfrith there was Bede, a scholar priest, and there was learning encouraged in Northumbria. Ethelthryth. The next thing is when we think with Sutton Hoo, in East Anglia, King Redwald attempted to do the same. So basically to have a strong power over his kingdom. But the height of Northumbria power came in the 7th century when King Oswald tried to unite his kingdom as one entity under his control. I understand that he was the king of Northumbria. Why does he now try so much to get it as one entity? He wanted to be a ruler, not with local lords. Maybe something like that. We're going to stay a bit away from it. We're going to say the other thing here. King Redwald in East Anglia. He was buried in the traditional Viking manner in a longship surrounded by treasures which, when found in 1939 at Sutton Hoo, revealed the high skill that prevailed during the 7th century in metalworking and so on. So King Redwald of East Anglia, he was buried at Sutton Hoo, found 1949, the ship Viking manner. And when the 8th century saw Mercia as the dominant kingdom, so Northumbria, Mercia, there was this King Offa, and then King Offa. About King Offa we will also talk, King Offa, Mercia. And he built a dike towards Wales to keep the Welsh people out. And he also made a pact with the Emperor Charlemagne of the France region, encouraging trading between England and the European continent and France. Then many Viking invasions happened, and the ruler of Wessex, further progress in Saxon England was, maybe you should name my presentation Saxon England. We're going to say the early Second Kingdoms. Further progress in Saxon England was now slowed down by the Danish Viking invasion, and this brought Wessex to the fore as defenders of English territory. King Alfred's resolute opposition to the Danes made it the most important member of the heptarchy, and Alfred the monarch of all England. And in the ending with Wessex, the leader King Alfred, he was making a strong opposition against the Vikings, many of them the Danes, and that made him then the most important monarch of all England. And he became the monarch of all England. Okay, we have it. We're going to start with before the Normans, not so much connection. Then the regions, local nord, fertile regions, agriculture, maybe Kent and Wessex. Kent, Wessex, Northumbria, Christianized then. And then Northumbria, King Ethelthryth and Bede, St. Augustine in Kent. And then it was King Redwald. So King Ethelthryth or Redwald, King Redwald, and then Offa Mercia, and then King Alfred. Offa was one also with Redwald the ship, Offa the trading, Wales and trading. He was the king of Mercia. Okay, let's start the calendar. Actually, need to know one little more. King Ethelthryth of Northumbria. The religion, and then Redwald Sutton Hoo, he was of East Anglia, and then Wessex was King Alfred and the Vikings, but before it was King Offa of Mercia. Okay, I think I have it. Let's look over again, otherwise we're gonna look at it. Who has written this book? The History of the Kings and Queens of England and Scotland. Author Edmund Swinglehurst. Edmund Swinglehurst. I am not using it. It's a little fast. King Ethelthryth of Northumbria. But what did he do? I'm not really able to remember it right now for some reason. Religion, encouraging learning with Bede. Redwald, Sutton Hoo. That was East Anglia. Offa and Mercia. And when King Alfred was 6, Alfred was just Northumbria, the learning and reading. Let's look at that. Early Saxon kingdoms in England in the 7th and 8th century, there were 7 kingdoms. That was before the Norman came with the Norman conquest and William the Conqueror. And that was a heptarchy, so 7 kingdoms, 7 monarchies. And there was then in the north Northumbria, then Mercia, then East Anglia, and Sussex, and Kent, and Sussex. I want to look it up. It was Essex with East, and then Sussex. I'm not sure if I'm able to do it today. Maybe we're going to do it next time, but let's decide. Early Saxon kingdoms. That was in England in the 7th and 8th century. That was before William the Conqueror came with the conquest, the Norman conquest. And there England was not so much connected, and the smaller regions inside of these seven kingdoms, the heptarchies, were ruled by smaller local lords. Now there was Northumbria, and then Mercia, and then East Anglia and Essex, Kent and Sussex, and Cornwall. And then of course the other regions, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. And there were many towns uprising, new villages were founded, and agriculture was everywhere possible. The south was fertile, and the southern regions with Kent and Wessex, these were also regions profiting from the Gulf Stream bringing warm water and so on. Now, and Kent and Wessex and also then Northumbria were the first one who were Christianized. There was St. Augustine, he came 597 to Kent, in Canterbury. And then there was King Aethelfrith of Northumbria. He was encouraging learning then also, together with also there was another person, Bede, a scholar monk, and encouraging learning. And then there was King Raedwald of East Anglia, and he was buried when in Viking manner, in a long ship with treasures underneath a mound of earth, and that was found in 1939. And there was then King Offa of Mercia, the other region, and he built a dike towards Wales to keep the Welsh people out. And he made then a trading pact with the Emperor Charlemagne of France, the region, to encourage the trading between England and the continent. And then there were Viking invasions to the east side of England, and Wessex became basically, until Wessex basically, and Wessex with its King Alfred became defendant against them. And King Alfred then became then the main monarch of England because he was basically doing it so good and main. And that is according to the history of kings and queens of England and Scotland, written by Edmund Swinglehurst on the pages 12 and 13. I don't know if I forgot something, or if I said something wrong, then I'm gonna make an asterisk in. I think it was okay. I'm gonna stop the camera. And that was the history part. If you were here for history, you can go directly to the next part of history, where we will talk about something else in history. If you stay here and participate in the stretching, then it's better to own risk. Have your feet same together. Open with one toe, the other toes. And again, so open with one toe and the other toes. The heel and the heel. As far as you can go. And then again in. The toes, the heels, the heel. Stay this time down in the knees. So stay in the knees. And up again. And now shoulder width wide apart. Breathe in the arms up. And breathe out and go to the side. The overlaid apple tree. In the middle. Out to the other side. In and out. Out the arms down. And breathe in. Out one hand slides down the leg, the other shoulder stays down. Breathe in. And out one arm up. Breathe in and open the ribcage. Out and back. Again in. Out one hand slides down the leg, the arm stays down. Breathe again in. Out one arm up. Breathe in under cage. Out and back. And have your feet standing together. Breathe in the arms up. Hold one hand down and reach. In and up and reach. Hold the other hand down and reach. In and up. And down. Again, shoulders wide apart with the legs. And shoulder circles. Back, up, and front, and down. And backwards. And breathe in the shoulders up. Out and down. In and up. Out and down. Breathe in the arms up. And reach always with one hand high up. Project to take an apple hanging high on an apple branch to turn the split around and then to live it out. And the legs with the sides, arms to the side, breathe in. And out, shift over to one side. Get in. Out to the other side. Get in. And out, lean onto the knees. Breathe again in. And out, one shoulder in front. Back. Out the other one. Back. Shoulder in front. Back. Out one in front. Breathe in. And out into hanging down. Breathe again in. Out over to one leg. Breathe again in. Out over to the other leg. Breathe in. Out into the middle and close the feet. Keep on hanging down. Breathe again in. And out. Again in. And out goes slowly and the arm back up. Make it to the backwards. Shoulder. And breathe in the arms up. Breathing that down. The arms up. And breathe out and draw shoulder blades together. In and up. Out and down. Another round. Out. In and up. Out. Breathe in and close the legs. And breathe in and out. It was for stretching. Thank you very much, and at the next time.